Hello everyone, welcome to this special session of analysis of RBI Grade B Phase 2 exams that were conducted yesterday. As you know, this year's exam was a special exam in terms of all the syllabus changes and the nature of the exam changes. Earlier, it used to be two objective papers, one of ESI, one of Finance and Management, and one subjective descriptive paper on English. Whereas this year, we had the objective paper of Finance and Management as well as descriptive paper of Finance and Management. 50% objective, 50% descriptive. Ditto for the ESI section also. 50% objective and 50% descriptive. So there was change in the nature of the exam. English section remained as it is. Also there were last minute addition. In the notification, there were addition in the syllabus, right? Changes in the syllabus. So all in all, today's analysis is about an exam which was different from the previous year's exam, right? Therefore, it's a special session in a way that we have got to understand the nature of this exam for the first time, because this paper was conducted, or this nature of paper was conducted for the first time. So what is today's agenda is very simple. We'll look at the different areas from where the questions have come in the management sections. Today's focus is management section, right? One by one we will be doing all the other sections also each day, but today's focus would be on the management section. So look at the areas from where the questions have come and discuss their nature, what kind of questions they were, and how this would be relevant. So what would be the questions? The questions would be all memory based questions that we have got from our students, right? So we will not be discussing the questions as such because we don't have the exact questions in front of us. What we'll do is we'll understand the concepts from where those questions have come and see how relevant those concepts are and how we should have studied those concepts. And this session is particularly be of help to all of those who are targeting the next RBI Grade B exams, because they first of all understand the nature of the exam, the nature of the questions that have come, right, this year, the changes that has happened and how the changes have affected a candidate and how they should be preparing or how they should be orienting their preparation to ensure that they are better prepared for the transformations that have happened. So that is one agenda that we would look forward to, one pointer that we'll look forward to have an idea about. Okay, so let's start off with the discussion of the nature of the questions, the areas from where the questions have come, and also look at the objective as well as the descriptive questions. Okay, and then we will see what can we gather from that, what have we gathered from that discussion. Okay, so first let's look at the objective questions. Okay, so the objective questions, as I told you that all the questions are memory based. So I'm not going to share with you the actual questions because I don't know about them. But then whatever we have got from students, that these were the areas from where the questions have come, we'll be sharing that with you. So for example, the first question based on perceptual error. I mean the first question in terms of in management. Okay, these were 1 marker questions. I'll come to the 2 markers later. So which area is this from? This is from the topic perception. Now perception, we cannot really slot it into a particular area, whether it is organizational behavior, whether it is leadership, because the application of perception is everywhere. So we will slot it into miscellaneous concepts. In our classes also we do it under miscellaneous concepts. Now perceptual errors. Now what kind of errors that we are talking about here? You see, there are 8 main errors of perceptions. Okay, so there is an error called illusion error, there is an error called hallucination error, right? I'll just list them down for your reference. Okay, obviously you'll have to get into a little deeper in these to have an understanding out of them. Okay, but illusion, hallucination, then there is halo effect, okay, then there is horn effect, then there is stereotyping, then there is similarity effect, okay, then there is contrast effect, and then there is selective perception effect. So these selective perception, contrast, all of these are the kind of errors that can happen. Now people were telling me that the answer to that question that was based on perceptual error was stereotyping, okay, because I don't have the access to the actual question of them, I don't know, but if it is a stereotyping, it means that the case was referring to a scenario where the actors were judging someone on the basis of a group. Okay, so let's say I'll give you an example. For example, white people of Europe in the 1800s and 1900s talked about, especially the English people, talked about white man's burden. You must have heard about it, white man's burden. Now, white man's burden was a racially prejudiced dialogue and a racially prejudiced idea that was created, that people who are white are more developed and people who are not as much developed, and that is therefore the responsibility of the white men to develop the rest of the world, and therefore they are setting up colonies in every part of the world, whether it is India or Africa, right? That was the rationale behind ruling us. So this was a stereotype. This was a stereotype that was made by the white man to rule over their subjects, that you are not white and therefore you are not fit to rule yourself. So that's what is stereotyping. So if the case was like, if a person is judging another person's capabilities on the basis of the group he belongs to, then it is stereotyping. Okay? The next question, or the area of the question that I came to know about, was a question which said that which amongst are process theory. Here I got some options also. Some students said that there were four options: Herzberg, McLelland, Alderfer and Vroom's expectancy theory. So which one of them was process theory? This is simple, because only Vroom's expectancy theory is a process theory here, and all the others are content theory. For this, see, this question was one of those questions which were direct, okay, not case based. It was a direct question, as my students told me. So if this was a direct question, then and it was a direct question and an easy question that way, because you would have an idea about what are the content theories and what are the process theories if you have gone into a little detail of the leadership and motivation theories. Okay. This is from motivation theories, right? Then we will talk about leadership style and leadership theories in another question. So in motivation theories, you know that there are majorly two categories. One is content theory, right? Another is, yes, process theories. Pre-content theories are known as early theories. So there is another segment which is called early theories, and post-process theory known as modern theories. So technically there are four types of theories, right? Early theories like Hull's drive reduction theory, Landsberger's Hawthorne effect, these are all early theories. Content theories are the more popular ones: Maslow's need theory, McLelland's need theory, McGregor's XY theory, theory X, theory Y, Herzberg's two-factor theory, Alderfer's theory. So these are all content-based theories. Then process-based theories: Skinner's reinforcement theory, Vroom's expectancy theory, Adams' equity theory, right? Locke's goal-setting theory, Potter-Lohler model. All of these are process-based theory. Then modern theories like Chris Argyris's loop theory, Weiner's attribution theory, or Bandura's self-efficacy theory. So this is the whole buffet of theories that you must have learned while you have prepared for it, if you were a person who had taken this exam, right? And if you are a person who is going to take this exam, you now know that one thing that you should be knowing, and that are the whole buffet of motivational theories, right? If you have studied it, then just by looking at the question you could have answered it, because this classification happens to be the first thing that you should be doing while going through motivation theories. Okay, right? Next question. So which chapter was it from? Obviously motivation, and the topic was theories of motivation. Next one. In Johari Window, which part is known to self and unknown to others? Now this was a topic that was added when the syllabus of this year came. Many people did not know about it. They asked us about what is Johari Window, right? So Johari Window is a concept of I'll again put it in miscellaneous topic, but it is basically, I'll not say of theories of motivation. It's more of, it was a typo mistake. I did not change it. It would be more from the perspective of theory of communication or self-evaluation. Okay? So personality, self-evaluation on those areas. So definitely miscellaneous topic. So Johari Window, yes, in motivation also you can use the application of Johari Window, but then you'll have to know how to do it. First, let's understand what Johari Window is. Now, I'll just, my drawing is not good, so pardon me. So Johari Window, classifies a man's personality into 4 areas. Open area. The open area are those elements of a man's character which is known to everyone, including the man or the woman himself or herself. Okay? Then there is blind area. Blind area is that area which is known to others, but the person does not know about himself. Then there is unknown area. Unknown area is that area which no one knows. Okay, no one knows about this. Neither the person nor the other, anyone else. And then there is the hidden area. Now, hidden area is that area which the person knows about himself or herself, but other people does not know about him or her. So that is hidden area. So this, question was which part is known to self and unknown to others. That was the question. So what would be the answer then? Hidden area would be the answer. So if you have understood Johari Window, then you could have answered this very, very easily. Okay? Next. So these were the 1-marker questions that I came to know about. There must have been or might have been some more questions, which I don't know, 1 or 2 more questions maybe. Now let's move on to the 2-marker questions. The 2-marker questions were mostly case-based. Okay. So, for example, there was a case and questions based on justice and personality. And there were 3 questions based on that, all 2 markers. Okay. Now, this particular case, you had 6 marks then. Unfortunately, I don't know exactly the questions that came in here, because discussing vague questions would not make sense, because then it would be like we would be creating questions by ourselves. So until and unless the questions actually is present in front of us, it would be very difficult. But we can also obviously discuss the concepts from where they have come, and that's what we would be doing today. Right. Now, the chapter that it belongs to is personality and ethics. And from my interaction with students, what I understood is that the topics that they relate to were theory of ethics and types of personality. Now, this was very, a thing that I expected, but I did not think that it is likely. But you can say that I'm happy that it happened, because this vindicates my stand of telling my students and everyone that boss, when you learn something, learn it from a perspective that you learn the concepts, from the fundamental, from the foundation, right? Understand them rather than rectifying them. Now, when you have a case-based question, why I am feeling vindicated? Because see, when you have a case-based question, my dear friends, then your ability to understand the application of the theory becomes important, isn't it? Right. So if you don't understand the application of the theory, you will not be able to answer the question because they would not be direct. Okay. Yes, your ability to read and understand and your common sense would help also. That's also I keep on telling that open your common senses. Don't only try to answer questions from your knowledge. Apply your senses also to it. Right. So both of these these things happened in these kinds of questions. So there would be a case which is a mix of theory of ethics and type of personality. See, it is not from one area. It is a mix of concepts that are from theory of ethics and types of personality. And why not? Because life is a mix of whatever we study. It's not that in life we will have situation from motivation only, or leadership only, or organizational change only. No. In life we will have situation mixed up. Right, and you'll have to act accordingly. So therefore, when they are checking you on getting inside their organization, they should know that whether you are able to handle that kind of situation. And that's why these kind of questions. Right, okay. So, this was the type of questions. Now, which were the concepts that would have helped you here? Definitely, in theory of ethics, whatever relates to justice would have helped me here. Acha, what is related in theory of ethics? What kind of theories relate to justice? You know, they are called deontological theories. If you had prepared ethics well, then you know that these are called deontological theories. Okay, and if you are going to prepare, then you know that these are the kinds of things that you should know. And in deontological theories, in modern ones, I'm not talking about the old ones, but in the modern ones, there are rights and duties, right? Then justice and fairness, okay? And then ethics of care. Now, the question you must have understood that is from here, right? Justice and fairness. But then obviously, when you study, you should be studying all of them. Then only you will be able to reach here, right? So, many people are saying that, oh, this was from here. We have discussed this question. But, you cannot discuss this question in isolation. This has to be understood in overall context. Okay, right. So, if you have learned deontological theories, understood the concept of deontological theories, then you would know justice and fairness. If you know justice and fairness, you could have answered this question. Why? Because as I understood from my interactions, the question was based on which category of justice should be given in this particular case. And for that you should know that there are three categories of justice. First category is distributive justice. Second category is compensation justice or compensator justice. Okay? And the third category is retributive justice. Okay? So distributive justice means, fair distribution of society's benefits and burdens. Therefore, that case was something like, which was talking about fair distribution of benefits and justice and burdens in the society. So that's why the answer would be distributive justice. You're getting my point? The case would elicit a response in that way. So distributive justice is the answer to that question would only be clear when you have that case in front of you. Pure application oriented question. Beautiful. I would give, in this area, I would like to congratulate RBI on setting questions like this, because if you are giving questions like this, a person who has not understood the concept behind it, he is not going to be able to answer it. Okay, either he has to be judicious and a very good reader and be able to understand the concept and the context, and from that he would be able to answer. That way also RBI gets a good employee, or he would be knowing about this stuff, right, and would be able to apply his knowledge in right way. Okay, that way they also get a good employee, right? So it was a good question that way. So distributive justice, that is because I have already listed these types of justice, let me tell about them also. Compensated justice is, when I am having a loss, okay, I'm being compensated for that loss because someone else harmed me and therefore I have a loss. So that is compensation. And then there is retributive justice, which means giving penalty or punishment. And I'll give an example. All of you have heard about Bhopal gas tragedy, hai na? Now, in Bhopal gas tragedy, the company or the company directors flew away, Okay? They flew away. So they escaped retributive justice. Retributive justice. Whereas the people who were harmed by it, were given money, were given treatment, that was compensatory justice. Okay? So this is the difference. Now, the next set of questions of 2 markers was a case and a question, and questions based on organizational change. Well, from the student with whom I interacted, he said that there were 2 questions in there. Some are saying that there were 3 questions. I don't really know, but then minimum there were 2 questions in there. And the case was on organizational change. Now, what was the question? What kind of questions were there? Exactly we don't know, but what we know for sure was the topic was Kurt Lewin's theory of change. Obviously, the chapter is Organization Development and Change, which was the newly introduced chapter that had come in this year's course curriculum, right? Though it was a part of the earlier course curriculum too, in a way, but specifically mentioned in this year's course curriculum. So, in that, Kurt Lewin's theory of change. Now, what is Kurt Lewin's theory of change? Very simple. This is one of the most simple ones, right? Kurt Lewin's theory of change says that from current scenario or current state, if I want to reach to the future state, okay, I would have to go through a transformation process. This is the transformation process. Okay? What would happen in this transformation process? The current state needs to be unfreezed first. Transit or transformation process, both can be said. It needs to be unfreezed first. After you have unfreezed it, you are pushing the boundaries and breaking their prejudices or their habits in the current state, right? And then you are moving towards the change that you want to implement in the employees, in the organization. And not only that, once you have trained in the change, then you have to refreeze these changes. Then only you would reach the future state, right? And obviously, this future state becomes the current state, next current state, and then if you want to change, you will change. So, this is Kurt Lewin's theory of change. And based on that, there were questions. So, if you understand this concept, I'm sure you'll be able to answer whatever questions have come from it. The last question that I came to know about, or the area from where the question has come, was a very, was something that happened in my opinion, for the first time in the last 2-3 years. And that is, the case was based on finance current affairs, and one question was there on communication in that. Cross-functional application. Such a, beautiful way of creating question. Okay. I couldn't get hold of what question it was. Some were talking about barriers of communication. So, if you have studied about barriers of communication, you definitely would be able to answer it. And obviously, the case itself would have helped you, right? Okay. So, that was the last question that I knew about. So, when I looked at these questions, 1, 2, 3 and 6, 9 marks, and 4, 13 and 2, 15. So, from the questions I got, minimum 15 marks questions have come from management. I might have missed 2 to 3 questions of 4 to 5 marks. So, not more than 20, I suppose, have come. So, anything between 15 to 20 has come from management. Okay. Questions were, some questions were pretty good, right? I'll not say difficult, but obviously application oriented. 1 or 2 questions were direct, okay, which is okay. Right. So, all in all, I see this paper as to be similar to what had come, the previous years also. So, in previous years also, only thing is that in previous years, in the last year, the case-based system was less. In last year, the case-based system was more. See, if you add the kind of papers that have come in the last 2 years, that's the kind of paper that has come this year in management. In finance, in ESI, what kind of paper has come, that would be discussed soon in, the different lectures. Okay, Samir sir would talk about the ESI section, Ravi sir would talk about the finance section, but all in all, more or less the same. Okay, a little on the easier side maybe, but more or less the same. Now coming to the subjective questions. Now the subjective questions, there were two subjective questions based on management. One was the difference between transactional and transformational leadership. Okay, so as you can understand that the chapter is leadership and the topic is styles of leadership. You know that transactional and transformational, if you have studied styles of leadership, you know that one style of leadership, there are 7-8 categories in which we can classify the styles of leadership, out of which there is one which is based on, the basis is based on personality traits. Okay, right? So and on that personality traits, there are quite a few kinds of leadership styles. For example, transformational versus transactional is one of it, or two of it rather, right? Then there is charismatic and vis-a-vis visionary, right? Okay. Then there is manipulative, okay, manipulative. Then there is narcissist. So all of these are types of leadership traits or leadership styles based on personality traits. And in that we had question on this. Again, see, on the face of it, this is a very direct question. But you would reach here only if you have studied styles of leadership. Only if you know about all the 8 styles, because you would not know from which 8 styles you would get question. And in those styles also, what are the classification? So that detailing would be necessary, right? Okay. Now, in transactional and transformational leadership, what is the difference? If you know about this difference, would you not be able to write this? I mean, anyone who has prepared well, he would be knowing this difference. So, what is transactional and what is transformational? Transactional is a leader who is responsive, who is reactive, right? This leader is proactive. Right? This in class we have done. Those who have studied with me, they know that they have you have done it with the examples, how we have done, classified it. Okay. Then maintaining organizational culture is one of the primary tasks or primary responsibilities that a transactional leader thinks from himself. Whereas this guy talks about transforming culture. Right. Acha. This guy, transactional guy, motivates by putting self-interest first. Okay. This guy motivates by putting group interest first. Okay. Right. So many differences. Then this guy is more interested in status quo. This guy is more interested in promoting creative thinking. Okay. Promoting creative thinking. So these are the main differences. These 4 are the differences. Now, the problem is that they had asked you to write 400 words SF on this, or answer on this. Right? How do I make a 400 word answer on this? See, first of all, understand 400 word is not something which is written on stone. If you have written 300 to 350, it's more than enough. Not necessary to write more than that. But that's not the point. Can you write 400 word on it? Yes. But for that, you will have to go beyond theory and think about application. You will have to relate to practical cases where transactional leadership happens. Give examples. So a person who reacts in a crisis situation, he is a transactional leader. A person who is who plans it for the next time is a transformational leader. These examples, you don't need to give examples from history only. You can just create examples on fictitious or fictional situations. Right? Okay. So the idea here is that, you can create an answer which is hard hitting, which is deep, which makes a lasting impact on the reader, provided you have studied these concepts with your mind inside it. Right? Okay. And then 300 words would not have been much difficult. Yes, 400 words, you might not have been able to type it only. The time might have been less, because for the 15 words, they said 600 words, which was, I understand, which is on the higher side. But don't worry. No one else would have been also able to do that. Or most of them would not have been able to do that. So what is important? Important is whatever I have written, has it made an impact? And you could have made an impact with not only the concepts would be discussed by everyone. Obviously, making an inclusive attempt at portraying the concept, that is okay. But giving examples, but by giving stories, relating to stories, that would have made your writing easier too. Understood? Why? Because when you relate to a story, you have made your point clearer without trying much, because the story has done its work. Okay? I am not talking about creating a story. I am talking about give small examples as you move forward. Right? Okay? So that's it. Obviously, for how to give that, how to give examples, refer to the descriptive lectures that we have already delivered on YouTube. Okay? You will get an idea what I am talking about. The next question on management, there were two questions on management in subjective. What is reinforcement and difference between positive and negative reinforcement? That was the question. Now, again, the question is from organization behavior, and the topic is personality and behavior. Okay? Right. Now, if you have an understanding of this concept, again, this would have been very simple. Let me give you an idea about it. See, behavior, you act in a certain way, and then you get a result, get a consequence. Now, whatever consequence you get, that can act as a reinforcer or as a punishment. Okay? This is what operant conditioning theory says, na? Operant conditioning theory. We have also learnt about Skinner's conditioning theory, or Skinner's reinforcement theory. That's also a type of operant conditioning theory. That's where it happens like that, na? So we'll not talk about punishment. Punishment, can be positive, negative also. But we were asked about positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. So positive reinforcement, where you are being given benefit of doing a particular job well. And negative reinforcement is a negative is not given to you, right? For example, let's say, a very, very basic example. If you wake up in the morning, you get a good breakfast in the hostel. Okay, so that's a positive reinforcement. When you go and get a good breakfast, you tell yourself, "Dekho, I got up early in the morning, and therefore I got a good breakfast." So that was a positive reinforcement. Whereas negative reinforcement, when the alarm clock rings in the morning, right, it would not stop until you wake up. So that's negative reinforcement, right? You have to stop the alarm clock and get up. So that negative would stop happening when you act. Okay, so obviously you'll have to go into detail, understand the concept in detail with cases, and then you could have written a very good answer at this, undoubtedly, right? Okay, so these were the questions. So, now that you have gone through all the different types of questions that had come in management this year, what do you feel? As an aspirant for the next year's exam, what do you feel? What are the changes that you need to do? What are the things that you need to do to get yourself prepared well? You must have understood one thing very clearly, that, you see, there had been so many talk about the paper being direct, to the point, okay, especially in the descriptive section, because in the descriptive section we saw that direct questions have been given, no doubt about it. But we also saw a well-read, a well-prepared student would be able to create a differentiating factor in that particular paper too, because he would be or she would be writing the descriptive answers in a way that would have way more depth than a person who does not have much idea about it. So this is one pointer that we understood from the descriptive area. And then again in the objective part, yes, some questions were direct, but some questions were case based, some questions were application based. As with all case based question, I keep on telling this. I told this in my last lecture also. Remember in the last lecture where the lecture just one day before the exam, I talked about that. See, whenever there would be long questions, there would be chances that the questions might be easier. Long paragraphs, long cases, the questions might be easier. And if you are able to read the whole paragraph based on your common sense understanding and the knowledge you have, obviously, marrying these two, you can answer it correctly. So that we saw in this year's objective paper also, right? So all in all, the objective paper, which we can see, was more or less on the lines of what it had been coming. A little, change in difficulty level here and there, or more or less same. And the descriptive paper was a kind of a paper where any person can write, because the questions were simple. Any persons could have written, but the depth to which a person could have written would be markedly different if that person is prepared. Okay, right. So how should you prepare? If you are a candidate who are trying to prepare for the next year, what should we do? First, see the syllabus and chalk out a plan for studying in the right order. If you are preparing by yourself, chalk out a plan to prepare in the right order. This is very important. You see, we don't understand that all of these concepts, these theories have relations with each other. So if I study something which is an advanced application of a particular concept without learning that concept, it would be difficult for me to understand it, right? So studying in right order is important. That's why when in the course, why do I structure one module and then after that another module? We don't study in form of only pointers from the course or syllabus. We study in an overall way so that our understanding grows. That has two advantages. First of all, I understand more. Second of all, in descriptive answers, my ability to write an effective answer also goes up, notches high, right? Okay, so the same thing you need to do. See the syllabus and chalk out a plan for studying in the right order. Now, go through the concepts then. Now, when you go through the concept, one mistake that people do a lot of times is that they would study the concepts from a book or from a channel or YouTube, whatever you are studying for. You are only learning the concepts or trying to mug up the concepts. But you saw in today's questions also, in both objective and descriptive, the ability was or the differentiating factor would be your ability to apply the concepts or know about or understand about the applications of the concepts, right? So whenever you study, understand with practical examples, make practical anecdotes to relate to those theories, those concepts. Then what will happen? The moment you study the case and go to the question in objective paper, you would be sure about the answer. There will be no doubt. Whenever you would write a descriptive answer, you would actually have some stories to share with. And I told you in descriptive, those people who would have been able to give examples or relate some real life scenarios with the concepts, they would have an edge over others. That would happen only when we are learning, we are understanding with practical examples. So don't try to mug up indiscriminately. That's, even if you do that, that might not help you, especially in a paper like this, which has application oriented questions. Study and make notes of all important parts. Now this I go on telling. even to students who go through my course, I keep on telling that make notes, because see, when you make notes, when you write, in our childhood, our mother, our father used to tell us that write and try, when you are trying to remember something, write it in your own words. Oh, that's a very golden, advice, because when you write, your brain has a reinforcement module picking up, right? It sort of reinforces that knowledge in a certain compartment, just like we learnt behavior reinforcement in the last slide, just like that. So writing down and making notes has two purposes. One is that you remember them more. Secondly, you have a place from where you can revise it in minutes, it in hours, right? Okay, so in very short time. So that's the beauty of notes. Then after you have been done with them, then practice questions, including mocks, based on the concepts, practice question and also take mocks as your preparation has happened to 70-80%, start taking mock. That is for the objective questions. Now for descriptive questions, what you do? Keep writing regularly. Descriptive answers based on concepts, the concepts that you learned. Let's say the day you learned about transactional and transformational leadership style, write about it. The day you learnt about, let's say, the content-based theories, write about it. Create questions like what is the difference between content-based theories and process-based theories. So create questions and write about them. Twice, thrice a week, you should be writing about one or the other concept. This would keep you practiced. This would also help you in, creating a scenario in your mind where if you have a question, you would be tapping into your knowledge base and creating an answer out of it, right? Also, because you have understood concepts with examples, with instances, anecdotes, you will try to share them there also. That would reinforce again your concepts. So this is the way you should orient your preparation. If you're doing it by yourself, you should be thoroughly planned and ordered, because then only you will be able to be properly prepared for this exam, because the competition is very high, even if the papers are easy, the competition, if it is high, we should be properly prepared, right? Okay, one thing is for sure, that this paper is something that if you prepare well, you can crack this paper, right? But that's preparation well, preparing well is something that needs to be happening at your end. Okay? So that would be all for today. Hope you understood how you should orient your preparation for the next exam, and you understood how RBI has created the paper and what it has tried to check in from that. Okay, with this we will end today's lecture. For those who have attempted this particular paper, have been inside yesterday's paper, all the best to you. Let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that you get a good result, a successful result from the yesterday's performance. And for those who are going to take the paper next year, all the best for your preparation. Okay, that would be all for today. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.